Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do a handover video on your Chausson Welcome 55 based on the 2006 Fiat Ducato chassis, and we'll start under the bonnet here. So straight away on the bottom of the bonnet you'll notice you've got your 249F, that's your paint code. That's this nice white colour. Most of the Fiats, to be honest, if they're white they are normally 249. Engine battery down here on the left hand side, so you've got negative this side, positive at the back with various mega fuses. You have got a battery isolator here as well, so if you wanted to isolate the engine battery completely you can do that from there. You've then got your brake fluid reservoir just here, power steering fluid here at the front, engine oil goes in through this cap just here, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just down here at the front. You've then got the chassis plate that you want to actually be looking at is this one just here that says Trigano on it. So Trigano are the company that own Chausson and various different ones. So that's the chassis plate you want to look at. Engine coolant is over here on the right hand side. Engine's cold at the moment, so that level is absolutely fine. Air filter sits inside this box just here, and then you've got your washer fluid down here with the blue top. Fuses and relays are under this little box here, and there's normally a few behind here as well. The bonnet release handle is just under the driver's side, so you've got the bonnet release just down there above the clutch pedal, and then your steering column adjustment above the brake pedal there. You've got the 5-speed manual gearbox, all your heat controls are just there, and you've got the rear fan option there as well. Oh, drop the phone. You've then got the electric adjusting mirrors from there, and the electric adjusting windows. Reversing camera up there as well in the middle, so you've got a nice high spec in there. We carry on the off side here, we've got these two vents just here, so these both to do with your fridge. So I've got the fridge lit up on gas at the moment, and I can feel a little bit of warm air coming out through the top of this vent just here. You can take this little piece out, not that you should need to really. You can do that to get to the little exhaust that's in there if you should need to. Pop that back up into there. So to take those off you just basically undo this little screw here, and then pull them out, but again you shouldn't really need to do that. It's only if you actually get a problem with the fridge, which at the moment there isn't. The vent to the left of that, just in case you were wondering, is basically access to the back of the tap and all that sort of stuff there. Now if I'm honest, I don't really know why that's there. It was obviously fitted from new, but it must just give you, you must just need access to that sort of stuff there. I've not seen that before, if I'm honest. But again, I know it's from new because you've got the factory sealant coming out of it, just like on the fridge vents there. So it was put there from new, but I'm just not exactly sure why. I mean, to be fair, if we needed to replace the pump, it would be a hell of a lot easier, the tap, sorry. It'd be a hell of a lot easier on this because you can just take this little cover off, but that's the only thing I can think up for that. Just inside the door, you've got a 240 volt plug socket and a light switch just here, which does these lights up here. You've then got your D-bar or security lock, whichever one you want to use it for. You can use it for both if you want to, so you can pull this around to dead straight like this so that you can use it as a handle to get in, or you can have it across here, or the other way around across the door, so you can use it as a lock handle to get in, whichever one you want. You've got an awning light just up there, which there is a switch for on the control panel, which is the top left one just here. That comes on there. Next locker is your toilet cassette locker. So you've got a freshwater flush on this, which means that you've got no sort of separate pink flush fluid to worry about in regards to the toilet. So as long as you've got a little bit of fresh water in the tank, you'll be able to flush the toilet. To actually get the cassette out, lift up on the little yellow tab here and pull the actual cassette out towards you. You'll then be able to take the entire thing out. All we need to know really is that you empty it out from here. So you undo this little cap here, and that's where you drain it out from. And when you're actually draining it out, you should be holding down this little yellow button here at the back. Other than that, the only other thing I would point out is that you've got a rubber seal just inside here, which you need to keep on top of lubricating with a silicone lubricant. You know, just every couple of times you use the vehicle. Also, you know, in fact, when you've got silicone lubricant, it's also a really good idea to go around any of these rubber seals. Looks like we've done it on the hab check because they're nice and sort of, you know, fresh looking. But if you don't lubricate them with a silicone lubricant, they will just crack up and get dry. And that's when you start getting leaks past the cupboard doors. I'll just have a look under here quickly because I've seen this little sign here. So you've got a drain off point just here, which is a waste drain, but I am also aware that you've got another waste drain over there, so I'm assuming that that is your waste drain there, and the other one across the other side might be the fresh drain. So it should be written up on the habitation sheet, but you've got a drain off point there, which is definitely a waste drain. I'll get to the other one in just a minute. So this rear locker here is quite important. So you've got your leisure battery, which sits underneath this little cover here. Nice new looking Varta leisure battery there. Oh, need two hands to put that back on really. There you go. So leisure battery under there. When you get out of this locker, don't hit your head on this like I've just done. That's your bike rack there. So yeah, just you know, huge amount of storage underneath the bed, and your leisure battery just there. Onto the near side, we've got your hookup point. So if you want the hookup plugged in, plug it in just there. External aerial socket, boiler vent just here. So again, I'll show you how to use the boiler in a minute, but if you were to double check that it was working, put your hand underneath this here and you'll be able to feel the hot air coming out basically. Next locker along, we've got your gas locker. So the gas locker, you can fit two 6 kilo propane bottles in here. You may or may not be able to fit a 13 in here, but I'm not sure about the height is the only thing. But at the moment we've got this full bottle here. So if we go anti-clockwise round to the left, that turns the bottle on. Clockwise round to the right, turns it off. You need to make sure that you turn this off before you start driving. It's really important. And you've got around 5 years on the pigtail there because it's oh, not 5 years, sorry, what am I on about? 5 years from the date of manufacture, so you've got till 25 to replace this. That's just a recommendation anyway. So you've got your freshwater filling point, so fresh water goes in there, and your other drain off underneath just here. So if I carry on now onto the inside, just jump in and shut the door. Right, so first thing I'm going to do, because it is very hot in here, is open this skylight. Right, I'm going to pull that across. Okay, so first things first, when you come in the habitation door, you've got the control panel just here, right in front of you. So you've got the main on and off switch on the right hand side, which you can see is on at the moment, and the water pump switch there as well. So as long as you've got enough water in the freshwater tank to actually draw water through, you should be able to turn the pump on, come to your tap, and just check that you've got pressure on both hot and cold sides. So cold is to the right, so we do that first. Good pressure there. And then hot. Good pressure there as well. And then we'll turn it off. Listen to the pump and make sure it turns itself off. There you go. So that's absolutely perfect. That's exactly what you want. So doing that, turning the pump on and just checking for pressure on both sides, tells you for a fact two things. Tells you that you've got pressure at the whole system and that there's no leaks, and that the boiler is full of water. This is your boiler here. All right, so before you start doing anything at all in relation to the boiler, you need to do that. Just make sure that you've got water in the boiler first. All right, so that's the only way to do that. You know, just do that there. Pull the water through on the hot and cold side. Make sure you got pressure. Make sure your pump turns itself off, and that's it. You'll be fine. On the left-hand side here, which are the only buttons left, apart from the awning light, which I've already showed you, obviously, you've got, these are sort of like level indicators. Okay, so you've got engine battery voltage. So if we look at this little scale here for this, press on that one. That's showing us the engine battery voltage, so that's absolutely full. Next one down is the habitation battery, so the leisure battery, also absolutely full, which is probably due to the fact that you've got a nice solar panel on the roof, because that's the solar controller. So, you know, the leisure battery really, assuming that it's, you know, got a bit of sunlight outside, it should be topped up all the time anyway, really. And the fresh water level, so if we press on that one there, it's telling us we're pretty much on the reserve, we're pretty much empty, which I know is true because I just literally put about 10 litres in it from empty about, you know, 15 minutes ago. So so that's showing us the correct level there. It's pretty much empty, I know it is. If the hookup was plugged in, you'd have this little symbol up here lit up. If your wastewater tank was absolutely full to the brim, you'd have this little symbol here light up. And also when you start the engine up, you should, I mean, don't hold me to this because sometimes they don't, but you should get this little symbol here come up, this little G symbol. So what the little G symbol is, I don't know what it translates to because it's a French vehicle, but essentially what the G symbol means is that when you start the engine up, you've got obviously an alternator, charges up the engine battery just like any van does, but you've also got what's called a split relay or a split charger. So when you start the engine up, what happens is it splits the power going from alternator to engine battery under the bonnet, splits it off and sends a couple of wires down to the leisure battery as well, so that when you're physically running the engine and driving, not only are you charging the engine battery up, you're also charging the leisure battery. So that little light there is basically telling you the split relay is working. It also means, because you've got that, it also means that you can keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving via the engine, which is what this little 12-volt symbol here is for at the bottom. So it's really important to sort of point out that that will not work because of what I've just explained, you know, about the fact that it works via the engine running. This will not work. The 12-volt one won't work unless your engine's running. Okay, and on the same sort of point there, the 12-volt is only to keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving, so you do have to pre-cool it either via the one of the other two here before you switch over to 12-volt and drive off. But I'll explain that in a bit more detail in a minute when we get to that. So that's the control panel. That's, you know, that's all there is to it, if I'm honest. So plate racks and things up there in that cupboard, and just more storage up there. These little bits here, these little caps, just by the way, just so you're aware, are the caps to cover up your awning brackets. So that's how they're held on there, so don't go pulling those off. So you got one there, and there'll probably be one in the bathroom, I should think, in a cupboard somewhere probably. Oh no, at the back there. So just want to point out that's what they're for. So right, I'm going to turn the water pump switch off now, which is always just good practice. If you're not using the water, there's no point in leaving the water pump on, because at the end of the day, if you're sleeping in the night, obviously not be using the water. If you're sleeping in the night and for whatever reason a pipe bursts or something like that, the absolute last thing you want is that pump to be switched on, because, you know, it's going to make a hell of a mess. So you might as well just leave it off when you're not using it. That's just always what I do anyway. Some people don't, but I just don't see the point in it. So load of storage over the cab there, so you've got space in there. I mean, that's your silver screens and things like that, which aren't cheap, by the way, so it's good that they're in there. Another cupboard up there, just loads of storage, and probably the same on this side. There you go. So you've got two forward-facing seat belts, which is always a huge plus. Proper over-the-shoulder ones as well, rather than just lap belts. Main wardrobe here. Okay, so in this wardrobe, you've got your tilt and turn TV aerial, which is this point just here, and your TV aerial booster. Now there is a switch on this, can't remember which side it is. There you go, that side there. So that button there will turn the actual thing on and off. So quite literally, all you have to do, there's normally some kind of something telling you what to do here when traveling, antenna, blah, 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 blah. Basically, well, this might sound like a bit of a cop out on my side, but if you're going to go to a campsite, there's going to be, I mean, this is pretty much every motorhome has one of these, unless they've got a big satellite on the roof or something. Every motorhome will have one of these. So if they're using the TV and they're using the satellite and they're using the tilt and turn aerial, just loosen off yours here, push it up. You should then be able to see it from up here, and just copy everyone else's. You know, because you've all got to point the same way. If you're on the same campsite, you've got to point the same way. So just try and copy everyone else's. If you can do that, then that'll save you a hell of a lot of faffing around. So do that, and then turn your booster on, and then you should have signal coming through to the wires, basically. So wires go through to here, don't they, actually? Ooh. Oh, I have to put that back on probably, it's because that microwave's in the way. So yeah, the white wire there comes through to there, so that's your aerial lead just there, the one that's actually wired into the booster. So yeah, that's it really. So that's that cupboard there. You have got the microwave in this cupboard just here. I have just managed to, I was too forceful with that, I've just kind of pulled it out of its channel, so I'll sort that in a minute. But microwave up there. I've left this big cover out of the way. I know it looks a little bit ugly, but I've left it out of the way for a reason. So basically what we've got down here, like I said, is your boiler. So that's this Truma big thing here. Now there's more than that in this cupboard, but basically this is really important to keep on top of. The Truma boiler in any van, really, generally speaking, is the most expensive part of the van. All right, so if you don't look after this and it freezes up, or you know something breaks in it, you're looking into the thousands to replace it. Thankfully, in this particular vehicle, it's really nice and easy to get to, but you shouldn't ever have to replace it anyway if you look after it. So all you need to know really, you've got the gas isolator for it just here. So if you wanted to isolate the gas from there, you can twist it 90 degrees so it's facing horizontal there. In fact, no, that's not true. This is that switched? That's switched off at the moment. That should be on there now. Anyway, right, so yeah, so this is basically your gas isolator for the boiler. So that there is in the open and on position, and then you can twist it 90 degrees to switch it off like that. The other thing you need to know is that down the bottom here, sorry at the camera angles, but down the bottom here you've got your boiler drain off. So if you push this button down, all the water inside the boiler will drain out onto the floor. If it's lifted up, it will stay inside. So that's, you know, that's really simple. That's how to do it manually. But I will also point out that particular one is an automatic drain off, or automatic dropout valve is what they call them. So in the winter, if it gets really, really cold outside, that thing there will recognize that, and it will drop all the water out of the boiler to stop it from sort of leaking and cracking and all that sort of stuff. So really important to make sure that you've double checked that by doing what I showed you on the tap earlier, just double check that this boiler's got water in it by pulling the water through on the hot and cold side. If there's no water coming through the hot side, make sure that's pulled up, and also then make sure you've got water in the fresh tank. So that's it. That's the sort of the boiler maintenance kind of thing. The boiler controller is just here, which I'll run you through in a minute. But so next to the boiler, you've also got your 240 volt battery charger. So that's what that grey box is there. So when you're hooked up on the mains, there will be a little red light coming from this little piece here. You've then got next to that your 12 volt fuses and your 240 volt trip switches. So it's just a really important little locker here to sort of run you through. Okay, so the boiler controller is really simple. This is gas only, so there's no 240 volt electric way of using the boiler whatsoever. It's gas only. So all you need to know really, it's really easy. You go up 1 or up 2 for 40 or 60 degrees of hot water only. Back to the middle turns it off. 1 down is heating only. 2 down is heating and hot water. So if, like, you know, if it's a day like today where it's really warm outside, but you still want to have a shower, or you still want some hot water for the washing up or whatever, you would just go up 1 or 2 for hot water only. If it was cold outside and you wanted to warm the van up but you didn't want any hot water, you go down 1 for heating only, and if you wanted both, you go down to the bottom. And that is honestly it. So that is your boiler controller. So the next bits, we've got your grill just here. So the grill is really easy. You basically, all you need to know really is that well, 2 things. You should have this little bit here pulled out when you're using it. It's just basically a heat deflector to stop any of this vinyl here getting warped and sort of melting. But all that you need to know to actually light it up, you've got a light switch just there. You've got a piezo ignition, so that's a manual igniter. A little bit noisy, but that's just how they all are. Sorry about the camera angle there. I'm not very good at multitasking. So you've got the grill actual gas isolator point there. So you push in and round to the left and do that basically. So push in and round to the left on this one whilst pressing on your ignition, and then you should have the grill light up just in there. You need to make sure the grill door is open when you're using it, but that's just like any household grill, you know, it's not any different. Cutlery drawer just underneath that, and a few more gas isolators down here for other appliances. So next bit is your fridge. So you've got 3 ways of using this fridge. At the moment I've got it here on the first little nodule there which says gas, and it's lit up with a little amber light inside of it. So because at the moment I don't have the hookup cable plugged in, but I do have the gas switched on, that means the only way I can use the fridge at the moment is the gas. As I said before, the only 2 ways that will get the fridge cold by themselves is either the 240 volt here or the gas. So if you're cooling this fridge down in order to go away and, you know, go on holiday, you need to either plug the hookup cable into the van and then select 240 volt, or turn the gas on like I have and select gas. Once you've done either of those 2, you can wait a few hours to get the fridge completely cold, and then by the time that you've got it completely cold, you know, like I said, 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours to get it completely cold, all you have to do in order to keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving is switch down to 12 volt, start the engine up, and on you go. That is honestly it. And if I just explain it, the reason that is, the reason that the 12 volt won't get the fridge cold by itself, is that essentially you've got 2 elements. You've got a 240 volt element, like a household plug element, and a 12 volt one. So if you know, you can imagine the 240 volt one's going to be nearly 20 times more powerful than the other one. So you know, it's just about how much power there is to go into it. The 12 volt is perfectly capable of keeping the fridge cold, but it will not cool it down by itself. So that is it really. You've got a little temperature dial on the right hand side here just to, you know, just keep your eye on it basically. If it's not cold enough for you, turn it up. If it's too cold, turn it down. Inside the actual fridge itself, you've got a little sticker at the bottom there which tells you the exact model code for it. It'll probably be like an RM, there you go, RM7401 is what it is. And so if you ever needed any parts for it, that's just the number you would need. Obviously let us know if you get any problems, but that's where it is. Freezer locker up the top there, and I will just point out, I mean, I've had this on for probably half an hour, so probably about 5 minutes before the video, and it's already starting to get nice and cold in that freezer there. you've also got a little lock on here to stop it from opening when you're driving. And that's it. Above that, we've got the 3-burner hob. You will need some sort of an ignition for this to light any of these up, because there's no igniter on these. So a lighter or a clicker of some description to light any of those. You've got a little diagram telling you which one does which. So yeah, it doesn't really get much easier than that, to be honest. Make sure all of these are down before you start driving. It's really important. So I'll just put these over to one side, close that. The last thing I'm going to show you, well actually I'll show you to the bathroom as well first, but blinds and fly screens. So the fly screen, like you've just seen there, you just quite literally pull it down. It will then lock in to the bottom part there if you want it to. Once it's in that position there, if you want to use the blackout blind, you can just squeeze these two together and lift it all the way up. It will just go in one piece. Then all you have to do is just release that from there if you want to open the window properly again. So that's the same on all of the blinds really. In fact, it's the same on all of them. So this cupboard here, like I said, you've got your awning light which is in there and your solar controller up there as well. You've then got your brown box here which has got all of your sort of motorhome related paperwork. And the bathroom is the last bit to show you. So very simple. The actual bathroom itself, you've got the standard mixer tap just like the kitchen one, hot and cold, left and right. The toilet is the only bit I tend to actually go through, because again the shower is exactly the same. It's just a hot and cold tap. The toilet is the only thing, so all you've got is a blue button just here which pumps around the flush fluid around the bowl. You will need your pump switched to be on in order for this to work, but then you just need to basically release it into the cassette by pulling this handle to the right. And that is it. So open it up to drain it into the cassette and then close the handle back over. And there you go. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. I mean, I think if there's anything else you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.